Hi there, and welcome to my economic observation on the 10th of August 2020. It is a Monday evening after a very hot day here in Norfolk County, Massachusetts. It's a beautiful evening. So let's get right to what I see. Trump's executive orders. The unemployment is only actually $300. It's not the $400 like he claimed, because he's asking the states to kick in $100, and many of the states just can't do it. So it's a $300 extension. He is using the disaster relief funds, and those funds, based on the people on unemployment, divided by 30, it only lasts for about 4.5 weeks. So I think it takes us to the end of August. And it's going to take till the end of August to get all this squared away. And by the end of August, Congress still won't be back from recess, and there won't be a resolution or a new bill unless they come back early. The Democrats have already said they're willing to come to the table and negotiate something. Many of the Republican senators find, these executive orders a joke, and they want to go back to the table. So we'll see over the next couple of days where this goes and what happens. But by the time they come to an agreement, create a bill, sign the bill, it's still going to take 2 weeks. So more to come on that. Disneyland, or Disney World, has cut their hours after opening to a smaller than expected crowd during the infection. So some of their parks are closing 2 hours earlier, and some are closing 3 hours earlier. So tell me, if you're working at Disney World, you finally got called back to work, you're getting your hours back, you can finally see the end of the road, only to be told instead of working 30 hours next week, you're going to be working 21 hours next week because, well, we're just not opening anymore. So a lot of those workers are faced with that. Their full-time jobs are gone, back to part-time, limited hours, limited customers. Disney World had lost $5 million in those 3 months that it was closed. So when it opened a month ago, it was really hoping to have a comeback. It just didn't happen. So they are cutting their hours. And when you cut hours too with this $300 expansion of unemployment, it doesn't cover that anymore. It's not part of the pandemic, the PUA assistance program. It's an extension for those who are truly out of work, and it doesn't cover those who have lost wages due to cuts. The infection is raging still throughout the country. It seems like there's no end in sight. Deaths are still... it's just crazy. It's just crazy. And the real unemployment rate is really 20%. So who is being lost in the Bureau of Labor Statistics? They call it the BLS. So when we had the numbers last week, it said that the July unemployment numbers were 10.2%, or roughly 16.3 million people. But we all know that that's not true. So because as of the 18th of July, 31.3 million people claimed uninsurance benefits. 31.3 million. And the week before that, on July 11th, it was 30.8 million people. That's an awful lot of people. So where's the 45% discrepancy come from? It's like 14.5 million people. Where did they go? So we think that it is ignoring the 14.3 million people who are contract and gig workers, right? So they are on the PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Assurance Program. So if it's not including those gig workers, and then there's another almost million, it's like 985 million people on the PEUC, which is Pandemic Emergency Unemployment, something or other. So you have to realize that out of the 160 million in the labor force, there's approximately 20% real unemployment workers. So the U3 rate, they call it, the BLS U3 rate, is a bunch of baloney. It's just not what it is. And we think that it's heading higher. The White House argues that unemployments have discouraged workers from seeking jobs because some are, receiving more money than they would working. There's no evidence of that. I don't know who's going to pay for all this. I mean, I know the American people need all this money. I know there's some people hurting out there, and I know that it's going to be people I know pretty soon. And I don't think anyone is going to go unaffected. But you just can't push a button and create this money. I mean, who's going to pay for this? It's going to be hyperinflation. Things are already expensive. You go to the store and a box of cereal is not what a box of cereal was. But the price of meat, the price of paper products, the price of everything has skyrocketed. I don't know. I worry about the future of our country. And yes, I understand they need it. But let's face it, how long can we keep doing this? Realistically, they say that a vaccine is not going to be available, or the world in America will not go back to normal potentially until the end of 2021. A vaccine won't be available for everyone. And for everyone to even feel comfortable with the vaccine. I mean, realistically, we're talking 2021. How long can you continue bailing out companies and small businesses and individuals at the rate that everybody feels like they need, or that I don't know what my thoughts are. Part of me says, maybe we should do, we did the 600, maybe now it should be 500 for 4 months, and until people get their stuff together, right? Maybe it gives them time to find a new place to live, to negotiate with their landlord, to move in with their family, to see where the economy's going, because a lot of these people are not going to be going back to work. Winter's coming, and a lot of these jobs are just not coming back. So I don't know if it's $500 and then maybe it goes to $400 for a certain amount of time. I mean, I feel like we have to wean people off the dependency from the government, because the government certainly can't do this forever. And I mean, man, if we're talking another 16, 18 months, I mean, it's just not sustainable. I mean, what's going to happen to the dollar? I mean, think about it. The dollar is just a debt note. It's just a piece of paper. It's not tied to the price of gold. It's not tied to any asset. I don't know, stock market was up 357 points today. 357 points. I mean, so it's so disconnected from what's happening on Earth. And then I read an article that 39% of millennials aged 24 to 29 ditched their apartments and moved back home with their parents. I know, I have one of them. 39%. I mean, their lives are on hold. Their futures are so uncertain. How do you manage that age group? I mean, by then, they're supposed to be thinking about getting married. They're supposed to think about buying their own home and starting their career and starting to save for retirement and all that. And all that's gone. I mean, between the ages of 24 and maybe even in their 30s, it's just, they just don't have the opportunities that, people in the 60s, 70s, 80s had. And that's why they're out on the streets. I mean, look what happened in Chicago last night. I mean, that is coming to America. That can come to any town in America. I mean, those shops were just ransacked based on a misinformation tweet. And that's scary. I mean, these people have nothing else to do. They have no other hope. So they go and take big screen TVs and fancy clothes just because they can. I mean, 400 Chicago police officers couldn't manage the crowd. They came with U-Haul trucks, for Pete's sake. I mean, it is just unbelievable. This is the new America, and it can happen anywhere. I mean, it happened in Chicago. It happens in Seattle and Portland and New York every single day. You don't hear about it on the news, but it is happening every single day. And what happens when it comes to, smaller cities and smaller towns, and it comes to your neighborhood? It comes to, someone's shop that you know. I mean, people are just so destitute. And people aren't paying their bills. There's nothing. The credit cards are being deferred, and student loans, 88% of student loans on some form of deferral or forbearance. Mortgages, 6% of mortgages, $80 billion not being paid back with no ramifications. You don't have to show proof of hardship or anything. You just go and you do it because you can. We are kicking the can down the road. And it scares me. And yes, I understand people need it. I feel for them. My heart is with them. I know people who need it. I know people whose businesses have been hurt. I know people. I don't know. All right. Well, hopefully we have some good news tomorrow. Keep the faith, and I'll see you soon. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks, everyone.